Have you offered any evidence to support this need that you're describing for the executive order, or are you really arguing that we can't even ask about whether there's evidence because this decision is not reviewable? Has the government pointed to any evidence connecting these countries with terrorism? Why should we be hearing this now if it sounds like you're trying to say you're going to present other evidence later? Is that in the record? The president is not applying any specific criteria from Congress here, is he?
And that lawyer, it just so happened, August Flenchy, he's the special counsel of the U.S. Department of Justice, he did not offer any details. I am now holding details in my hand. This Fox News obtained this document from the White House, and what is in it is it lists 24 refugees who had come from these 7 nations that have since been charged with terrorism. Some of them have been convicted. Let me bring in former director of the CIA, James Woolsey. And before we get to the whole point of whether any of this stands, why wasn't this then presented? Was it rushed so much? I'm just trying to understand why this would have been something for the Donald Trump side to say, hey, just look at this.
I don't know. I haven't seen the list, but I believe that the president is now on the strong side of these arguments, much as he's commander-in-chief with matters related to war and peace. I think with respect to who comes into the country, as long as his criteria are acceptable, I think he's on the winning side. He, in this case, for example, mentioned earlier, some months ago, that he might want to keep all Muslims out, and that, I think, would have been unconstitutional under the First Amendment. But he's changed and now is going to hold outside the country individuals from certain countries. And I think that could have been done more carefully. For example, a number of Iraqis have fought beside us against rebels in Iraq, and if somebody's fought side by side with us, I don't think we want to keep him out of the country. Same for permanent resident aliens, but some other people have to be.
Let me just tell you how complicated this list really now makes things, or goes to your point that President Trump may really be in the clear at this point. Here is one example of the people on the list that Fox obtained. An Iraqi native who served as a translator for the U.S. military was admitted to the U.S. through a special program for Iraqi translators and interpreters way back in May, subsequently became a naturalized U.S. citizen, was later sentenced to 4 years in prison for making false statements to the FBI despite proof he pledged allegiance to ISIS. There's another one, a whole bunch of Somalis. A refugee who became a naturalized U.S. citizen, this was back in January of 2015, turned out he was providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization, Al-Shabaab. Then he tried to sneak across the border to Mexico and has been placed on the no-fly list. It just would have seemed to me that this list would have been game, set, match for this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals saying, here's your evidence.